to go ahead and look at number 1A. Don't crinkle his paper. All right, so for 1A, we have to solve it by factoring. We're going to solve this entire section by factoring to kind of recap how to do that. So first things first, what is A times C? What is B?
8.
What multiplies to give us 12 but adds to give us 8? 6 and 2. Okay, can I use the shortcut for this one? So to do this with a shortcut, we have 0 equals what? And x plus 2. So then to solve from there, we just set both of those equal to 0 and solve. So we do x plus 6 equals 0. How do I solve that? Minus 6 on both sides, so x equals? Then we have x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 on both sides, x equals? So we write our answer in squiggly brackets. Which one do I need to put first? Negative 6, comma, negative 2. Now I want y'all to do B. It's not 6 and 4.
Yeah, it's 2.
Well, I want to study because I kind of forgot the stuff over break, so I could try to take it Thursday.
That works.
I thought it was 2 negative 12.
Just look over anyone.
It's just funny because he got knee surgery. That's the only reason.
Great, Anne.
Yeah, they shouldn't be staring at my paper. You could be trying to cheat. Sure you are.
All right, so what is A times C for B? What is B? So to multiply to get a negative number, I need both a positive and a negative. So what do my numbers need to be? Negative 12, positive 2. Can I use a shortcut for this one?
Yes.
So we get 0 equals x plus 2 times x minus 12. X plus 2 equals 0. What does x equal? Negative 2. X minus 12 equals 0. What does x equal? So we get x equals squiggly bracket. What? Negative 2, comma 12. All right, now we're going to do C together. Y'all are just going to have to ignore me saying number C and number B because I'm going to do that the entire time. All right, so for 1C, what is A times C? What is B? What multiplies to give us 6 but adds to give us 7? What was that? 6 and 1. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. One of the most common mistakes that I looked at just glancing at our tests wasn't the hard factoring problems. Put it on my desk. It was factoring problems like that. It's like we forgot we can multiply times 1. But that's okay. It happens to the best of us. Hopefully you are not one of the ones that made that mistake. But just remember that that is one we can use. Now, can I use a shortcut for this one? No, so we have to use grouping. So to do that, I rewrite my original question as 2x squared plus 6x plus 1x plus 3. And then I look at the first two terms. What is their GCF? 2x. And what does that leave us with? X plus 3. For the second half, what is the GCF? 1. Which leaves us with x plus 3. All right, now we take what's the same
X plus 3 and 2x plus 1.
and what's left over, which is 2x plus 1. And we set both of those equal to 0 and solve. So we do 0 equals x plus 3. What does x equal?
Negative 1.
And if we do 2x plus 1 equals 0, how do I solve that?
Minus 1.
Subtract 1, then what do we do?
Divide by 2.
So x equals,
Negative 1 over 2.
so we get x equals squiggly bracket, negative 3, comma, negative 1/2. All right, so that is a recap of solving by factoring, okay? So some factoring questions are easier than others. Factoring is the easiest when A is 1 and it's fully factorable, okay? Now for B, or for, not B, for 2, we have to solve those same questions by completing the square. Okay, so we're going to go over number 8. I want us to rewrite this as x squared plus 8x plus 12 equals 0.
Yeah, why is it 0 right there?
I wasn't thinking about it when I typed it, and I hated it after I did it, and so that's why we're fixing it. But I'd already copied it before I realized that I hated it. So when we get to here, the first thing we do with completing the square is we have to move the constant. What is our constant? So how do I move that? Then we have x squared plus 8x equals negative 12. Then we have to divide by a. What is a? So divide everything by 1. And I get x squared plus 8x, leave us a little gap, equals negative 12. Now we have to do the actual completing the square part. That is where we take our b, divide it by 2, and square it. So what is our b? So 8 over 2, which gives us 4 squared, which is, so we add 16 to both sides. So we can factor the left side of this equation. So we can either do it by saying what multiplies to give us 16 and adds to give us 4, or we can do it by just saying what is half of 8. So x plus 4 squared equals negative 12 plus 16, which is 4. Okay, from here, how do we go about solving that? Find the square root. So I get x plus 4 equals positive negative. What is the square root of 4? Then we solve by subtracting 4 on both sides, and we do x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 2. What is negative 4 plus 2? What is negative 4 minus 2? Negative 6. So our solution is negative 6, comma, negative 2. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so now I want y'all to look at B by completing the square.
So you did B, you did the B divided by 2 squared thing.
To get that term that adds right here. Yep, did that. All right, so go ahead and do 2B by completing the square.
What's 24 plus 5? I mean, 24 plus 3.
49. Stacy, do your work. Stop whispering. No, you weren't. You were talking about nonsense. You weren't asking her about math. I could hear you. I could hear you. That's not what you were saying.
It's the fastest I've ever done this.
All right. So when we actually complete the square, we take half of negative 10 and square it. What is half of negative 10? What is negative 5 squared? 25. So we add 25 to both sides. So we get x minus 5 squared equals 49. Then we square root both sides. X minus 5 equals positive negative.
7.
Add 5 on both sides. X equals 5 plus or minus 7. What is 5 plus 7?
12.
What is 5 minus 7?
Negative 2.
So that is our solution. X is equal to negative 2, comma, 12. All right, and we are going to do C all together, okay? So when we look at C, I want us to go ahead and rewrite it as 2x squared plus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Now, move C. How do I move C?
Right.
Yep. So we get 2x squared plus 7x equals negative 3. Now I have to divide by, divide everything by 2. So we get x squared plus 7 over 2x equals negative 3 over 2. This is not pretty. So when we look at this one, we are going to take our b, which is 7 over 2, and divide that by 2 before we square it. When we divide 7/2 by 2, we get 7/4. Then square it. What is 7 squared?
40.
What is 4 squared?
60.
So we have to add 49/16 on both sides. Yeah, this is not a pretty problem. Not a pretty problem. So the left side we get x plus 7 over 4 squared equals, I'm going to use my calculator for the right hand side. And it is 25 over 16. Because I didn't want to do that by hand. Okay, then what should I do? Square root both sides. We get x plus 4, or 7 over 4, equals positive negative. What's the square root of 25? What's the square root of 16? Subtract 7/4 on both sides. So we get x equals negative 7 over 4 plus or minus 5 over 4. So negative 7 over 4 plus 5 over 4. What is negative 7 plus 5? So that's negative 2 over 4, which we can write as negative 1/2. Then we have negative 7 over 4 minus 5 over 4. What is negative 7 minus 5? What is negative 12 divided by 4? So our solution is x equals, squiggly bracket, negative 3, comma, negative 1/2. Now, that was not fun. I did not like that. That was horrible, no good, very bad time, right? So these are the methods we focused on in part 1. And factoring works a lot of the time. Completing the square will work all the time. It's just sometimes, like in C, when our b is an odd number, it's just not very pretty because when we try to divide it by 2 and square it, it just gets ugly, right? So there is a method we can use that will work every single time, and it doesn't have those weird, real ugly problems like completing the square does sometimes, okay? And so what I want us to do, okay, before we do anything else, is I'm actually going to go over our bonus. So you can set your pencils down. Just turn on your brains for a second. I'm going to go over it up here. You don't have to write it down because some of you already did it, and we're going to talk about it. So what I had you do for the bonus, right, is I had you take ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 and solve it for x by completing the square, right? That's what our bonus was. So first things first, I move what is my constant. So in this case, what represents my constant? So I'm going to move c to the other side. So I get ax squared plus bx equals negative c. Now I have to divide everything by the coefficient of x squared, which is a. So we get x squared plus b over a x equals negative c over a. So from here, I take this term and I divide it by 2 and square it. When I say b over a divided by 2, that is the same thing as saying b over 2a. And then I square that. What is b squared? It's not a trick question.
B squared.
What is 2a squared? 4a squared. So that is what gets added to both sides. So a lot of people got to this point or very, very close to it on the bonus. Where we had some problems was going from this step forward. And I kind of get why. So we can factor this by using the trick where we just take half of this term. So we would just do x plus b over 2a squared equals. Now, to be able to add two fractions, they have to have common what? So I need to multiply this one by something to make it equal 4a squared. What can I multiply a by to get it to 4a squared?
2.
Not just 2, but 4. 4. Do I need to do a squared? A?
I don't know.
Just a. We're multiplying by 4a over 4a, which that will give us negative 4ac all over 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. So the right side, we can rewrite that as b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Now, to solve from right here, what do I have to do? Take the square root. Now, when I take the square root of a fraction, I have to take the square root of both the top and the bottom, right? It's kind of like I do this. Now, do I know any method for taking the square root with a minus sign in it, like b squared minus 4ac? Do I know any way to do that? Can I take the square root of that whole thing? No. If I can't take the square root of the whole thing, I just leave it alone. So it's going to be the square root of b squared minus 4ac. We're still going to keep our plus and minus out there. But can I take the square root of 4a squared to get what? 2a. Okay, so now I'm going to move my b over 2a to both sides. And so I get x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I can rewrite that one last time as negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That right there is the answer that you got a full 10 points for. Okay?
Did anybody get it?
Yes, you people did.
How?
I'll have to talk to them about it. But that is a challenge question for a reason. I did not expect all of you to get it. Hence why I gave you an opportunity for 5 more bonus points. Okay? That is this right here is something that is not a required thing to be able to do in high school. It's something I've had to do in college a couple, 3 or 4 times actually. But the really cool thing about it is we just discovered where what we're about to learn comes from. So completing the square gives us this nice equation for x, right? We can use that equation to solve for any quadratic instead of doing completing the square. And that formula is called the quadratic formula. So those of you that did the bonus and got this as your answer, congratulations, you just proved the quadratic formula.
Yeah.
all on your own. Okay? So that's where it comes from. I always like to show this because it kind of helps us go, well, because there's been a couple times where like people have just like kids have just seen the quadratic formula and they look at me and go, where on earth did that come from? Like what happened? It's just what you get when you complete the square. It's just, it shortens it into one singular step where we just plug into it. Makes it a plug and chug problem instead of doing all the stuff from the completing the square. So on the back of our paper, we're going to talk more about the quadratic formula, okay? So it is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You have to memorize it. You need to live, laugh, love it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's not going to be on the board. You cannot have a note card with a quadratic formula on it.
Girl, bad.
Can you put it on the board till
Nope. Or until the test day, yeah, I'll put it up there. But
We should go over it every day before we start class.
I mean, we will. It's negative b plus or minus. Mess with me. I'll make y'all sing it. Y'all ready? Y'all ready?
No.
Sure.
I'm not singing. Wait,
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
I'll play this
X
for
is
like
equal to
30 minutes
negative
every
b
day.
plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
It never fails. I show that every time I teach the quadratic formula, right? It never fails that during the test one day I'll hear a kid go, bum, 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 and I love it. It's great. If it helps you, it helps you. That's awesome. Okay.
Can't we have a note card for this? Because that looks hard.
It's the formula. I want you to memorize this formula. I want you to know this formula like the back of your hand. So you should have a heads up on it. But I want you to know this formula, okay? Okay, you are going to learn it. You are going to love it. You are going to live it. The quadratic formula. Get it down, okay? So the quadratic formula really is just a plug and chug problem, okay? So we are going to first start by the part that kind of makes or breaks us being able to do the quadratic formula. That's us finding what A, B, and C are. So for 3a, what is A?
X squared.
It's not x squared, but it's 1. What is B?
8.
What is C?
12.
All right. For B, what is A?
1.
What is B?
Negative
What is C?
Negative 4.
Okay. For number C, what is A?
2.
What is B?
7.
What is C?
3.
All right. That right there is exactly what we plug into the quadratic formula. This part right here is the part that if you don't do this part correctly, it doesn't matter if you know your quadratic formula or not. So I have faith in you. We can get that part down because we've been doing that part. Now we are going to start by just plugging it in. I already put the quadratic formula there. All you have to do is put the stuff where it goes. Okay? So for A, it'll be negative, what is B? What is B? 8. Plus or minus the square root of squared minus 4 times all over 2 times 1. Okay? And then we just simplify. Okay? So we get x is equal to negative b, or negative 8 plus or minus the square root of, what is 8 squared? Then we have minus 4 times 1 is 4. What is 4 times 12 though? 48. Okay, all divided by 2 times 1, which is, okay, we're doing these by hand pretty much. And then y'all can use the calculators more as we get through them.
Yeah, I was about to say, can you put the quadratic?
You cannot put, so you can't put plus or minus, and these calculators will not simplify square roots, right? Remember? So we have issues. But we are going to talk about ways to go around that and what we can put in the calculator to help us out. But today we're just doing it by hand. just to get used to it. And then we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root of, what is 64 minus 48? 25, right? No. It's not 16. What am I talking about? I'm losing my mind. Divided by 2. So we get x equals negative 8 plus or minus, what's the square root of 16? Divided by 2. So we do both cases. We have negative 8 plus 4 divided by 2. So what is negative 8 plus 4? Negative 4. What is negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. Then we have negative 8 minus 4 divided by 2. What is negative 8 minus 4? What is negative 4 divided by 12? Or negative 4, wait. Negative 12 divided by 2 is, good gracious. Negative 6, comma, negative 2.
We don't do
Okay. Now, we are going to look at B. Same thing. I want y'all to set this one up, though. Plug and chug.
He said it first. I was just making fun of him.
I didn't hear you.
Okay, never mind.
My grade could
Yes.
take until the end of the quarter.
Yes.
right?
It has like a hint of like strawberry blondish to it, which I like it. It was really, really bright last week, and it was like, I loved it, but it's faded a lot.
Do you think she has your
Just
Yeah,
a
mine
little.
fades when I like in the shower.
I think it's the bleach. I think the bleach has just made my hair very not absorbing good.
Just ask her how many things you
I did. I didn't bleach it this time.
maybe put it a little
I went a little darker.
She's right in fucking but
Yes. Thank you.
how many
Yeah. I'm just a big baby.
I want mine
This is
to
weird.
like steaming hot.
I
Yeah.
usually shower with I wash my hair with warm water
And then do your hair.
my hair.
Yes.
That's to me up this quarter.
or for the rest of the year.
2 more.
So this quarter.
You could just say the rest of the year.
What'd she say?
All right. So for this one, we're going to plug in, what is B in this question? Negative 10. So I'm going to plug in negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times all over 2 times 1. So a negative and a negative make that x equals positive 10 plus or minus the square root of, what is negative 10 squared? It's positive 100. Then negative 4 times negative 24 is positive 96. Because we have a negative and a negative, which makes it a positive. All over 2. So we have 10 plus or minus the square root of 196 all over 2. Then we simplify it. Does anybody know what the square root of 196 is?
Is it
14. 13 is 169. So now 10 plus 14 divided by 2, what would that be? 24 divided by 2 is 12.
Guys, I said 12.
10 minus 14 divided by 2, what is that going to be? Negative 2. So x equals, squiggly bracket, negative 2, comma 12. Then I want y'all to do C all on your own. It does not have the formula already for you. Honestly, what I do in this scenario is I start by just taking and setting up my quadratic formula. I go negative, parentheses, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And I say the quadratic formula in my head every single time I write it. I go negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The more you say it, the better you remember it.
It seems like a lot of work.
I know, kind of like one last question,
Sing that song.
What is 7 squared? 49.
Oh my gosh, Christian. Trust, you may not be able to try it. I didn't like it. Well, look,
All right, so what should we plug in first?
1.5.
7 and 7.
All of you.
Then 4 times
2.
times
I'm not trying.
all over 2 times. So we get negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus all over 4.
Oh.
So we get negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 25 over 4. Solve it from there. Yes. Yes. So our answers should end up being negative 3 and negative 1/2. All right.
Oh.
So far, if you had to pick a favorite, and you have to, which favorite would you pick? Factoring,
I got -12.
completing the square, or this?
Factoring.
I like factoring too. Hmm?
I like the factor.
All right. So I will quickly go over when and why each method is the best. Okay. So factoring is great when a is 1 and the problem is factorable. Okay? Because, like, let's face it, you cannot really beat being able to just quickly do, oh, what multiplies give me 12, as give me 8? Oh, so it's x plus 6, x plus 2. That's easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? And then completing the square also works all the time, okay? But completing the square is particularly easier when a is 1 and b is even. Okay, if b is not even, that's when you get those weird fractions you have to deal with. Okay, but then the quadratic formula makes the problems where a is greater than 1 so much easier. Okay, that's when the quadratic formula shines, is because it takes those problems when a is bigger than 1 and it makes them easier. You just plug and chug. So we are going to take some time this week. Okay, we're going to practice the quadratic formula some more. We're going to talk about imaginary numbers, and we are going to kind of grind this week. This week's going to be a hard work week, but we got it.
Just got it.
So I know. What thing? No, it's because the thing's not turned on. On it down here somewhere. Yep. But tomorrow the calendar will be up on the board so you can see the rest of the year laid out for us.